You don't wake up one day expecting your entire reality to shatter. I was 51, married for 27 years, 2 grown kids, a decent job in IT. We lived in a quiet cul-de-sac where nothing much happened, the kind of neighborhood where the biggest drama was a misplaced trash bin or a dog that barked too late at night. And I loved it that way. My wife, Melissa, had been my world since I was 24. We were that couple people envied at dinner parties. We finished each other's sentences, hosted Thanksgiving, sent out cheesy holiday cards and matching sweaters. We laughed, we fought, we raised 2 wonderful kids. Sure, the spark had faded a bit. It happens with time. But I thought we had something deeper, something built on history, on respect, on years of choosing each other. I truly believed we were a team. Then came the message. It was a Friday night. I remember every detail, because moments like that sear themselves into your memory forever. I had just come home from work. The house smelled like garlic bread. Melissa was in the kitchen, barefoot, humming to herself as she stirred a pot of pasta sauce. The dog curled up at my feet while I loosened my tie and sank into the couch. I grabbed my phone out of habit, just to scroll a bit, unwind. And then I saw it. A message request, from someone named Todd Delaney. At first, I almost ignored it. Figured it was spam. But something, call it instinct, call it fate, made me open it. What I read changed everything. Hey, I know this is probably out of nowhere, but I think we need to talk. It's about Melissa. I sat up straight. Melissa. I looked toward the kitchen. She hadn't noticed anything. I kept reading. I didn't know she was married when we first met. I swear I didn't. But once I found out, I ended it. That was a year ago. Still, I thought you deserved to know. We were together for nearly 2 years. My vision blurred. What? No. No way. Melissa, my wife, the woman standing 10 feet away singing along to the radio, had been sleeping with another man? For 2 years? And he was just now telling me? I scrolled down. Screenshots. Messages. Photos. Hotel receipts. Dates. Times. Names of restaurants we had been to together, except she'd been there with him. It wasn't just physical. There were hearts. Inside jokes. Weekend trips, she had told me, were business retreats. Birthday messages he sent her while I was in the other room. It wasn't an affair. It was a second life. I didn't say anything that night. I stared at her across the dinner table as she laughed about a co-worker's mistake with a spreadsheet. I nodded. I smiled. I played the part of the man I had been just hours before. But inside, something was unraveling, and I knew I needed answers. Because this wasn't just one man. This wasn't just one betrayal. This was a pattern waiting to be uncovered. The weekend after Todd's message, I didn't sleep. Not really. While Melissa dozed peacefully beside me. The same woman who once cried in my arms after our son broke his arm. The same woman I held through the loss of her father. I lay awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much of my life had been a lie. That message wasn't the end. It was the beginning. I started looking. Not just at her phone. No, that would be too obvious. Melissa was cautious. Whatever she had done, she clearly knew how to hide it. But technology? Technology leaves footprints, even when people think they've scrubbed the floor clean. So I dug deeper. iCloud, old shared calendars, our family's Amazon account, email inboxes tied to forgotten services, receipts, photos, metadata. I became a detective in my own home. And the deeper I dug, the sicker I felt. Todd had been one of three different men. One coworker from her department, one client from a conference in Chicago, and Todd, the only one with a conscience. The others? They didn't care. They were just part of the game to her. And here's the thing. She was smart. She never used her personal phone. She used apps that auto-deleted messages. She kept fake business trips on our shared calendar, even updated them with made-up meeting notes in case I checked. She planned everything. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was systematic deception. I found travel confirmations for hotels I never knew she stayed at. One in San Diego, one in Austin, another in Boston. On the same weekend, she told me she was visiting her sister. I looked at the timestamps. She would send me a "love you, talk soon" text minutes before checking into a hotel room with another man. I wanted to scream, but instead, I documented everything. Every photo, every message, every hotel confirmation, every calendar entry. I created a private, encrypted folder, gave it a cold name, Dossier. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew this. I couldn't confront her empty-handed. This betrayal was big. So the reckoning would be bigger. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the arrogance. Melissa had become so confident, so comfortable in the shadows. She thought she was untouchable. Like the truth would never surface. Like I was too dull, too blind, too married to suspicion. But the thing about long-term liars is this: they eventually trip over their own lies. And in her case, it wasn't just her mistakes that caught her. It was her partner's. A week after I uncovered her digital double life, I messaged Todd again. I thanked him for telling me, for being the only one with the decency to speak up. He surprised me. He said, "You're not the only one she's fooled. I've been talking to the other guy. Turns out, she lied to both of us." The other guy was Chris, the client from her Chicago trip. Except he wasn't a client. He was a married father of two, whose own wife was now suspicious after finding photos on an old iPad. Todd and Chris had connected through mutual frustration and mutual betrayal. Two men, both angry, both burned by the same woman. So I did what any rational, shattered man would do. I asked them to help me. We created a shared folder. Each of us uploaded what we had: messages, photos, emails, phone logs. Together, we built a case. It was surreal, like building a crime board in a police drama. Except the criminal slept in my bed and kissed me goodnight for nearly 3 decades. We uncovered things I never would have found alone. Chris shared a video, a clip of Melissa laughing in a hotel room, wearing my old college sweatshirt. Todd had screenshots of her talking about the boring routine of married life, calling me safe and harmless. That one cut deep, not because of the insult, but because of the truth underneath it. I was safe. I was loyal. I was dependable. And she used that as a cover to destroy me. The final blow? A text exchange where she joked about keeping her lives separate, saying, "As long as he doesn't know, I can have it all." That was the moment something inside me snapped. She wasn't just cheating. She was playing God with our lives. Mine, our kids, even the men she used and discarded like chess pieces. And the worst part? She thought none of us would ever talk. She thought wrong. Because now, we were all talking. And I was ready to make everything public. The night I confronted Melissa, I rehearsed everything in my head. What I'd say, what I wouldn't, how I'd stay calm, composed, not let the rage that was boiling in my chest explode too soon. But all that fell apart the moment she walked into the kitchen and greeted me like nothing had happened. She was holding a glass of wine, wearing that same cozy gray sweater I bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. The same one she wore in a hotel room with Todd. The irony was suffocating. I placed my phone on the table and simply said, "I know." She blinked, paused, tilted her head, confused. "Know what?" I looked her in the eye. "About the affairs. Todd, Chris, the Chicago trip, the hotel in San Diego. All of it." There was a moment, barely half a second, where I saw it. That flicker of recognition. That twitch in her jaw. The micro-expression of someone who just realized the walls are closing in. And then, she laughed. Not nervously, not guiltily, she laughed. A sharp, bitter, disbelieving sound that echoed in the quiet kitchen. "Oh, please, David," she scoffed. "You're seriously going to believe the word of a couple of losers I barely knew?" I didn't answer it. I just tapped the phone screen and opened the folder. Photos, screenshots, messages, her own voice. Proof she couldn't deny. Her face dropped. The smirk vanished. For the first time, she was silent. I expected tears, excuses, a breakdown. Instead, she hardened. "You want to ruin me? Go ahead," she said. "But you're not taking the house. Or the kids. Or my dignity." I almost laughed. Her dignity? She destroyed mine over years of lies. And she was worried about hers? That moment right there? That was the turning point. I realized I wasn't dealing with a heartbroken woman who'd made a mistake. I was dealing with someone who had justified every betrayal in her mind. And now that the truth was out, she would fight like hell to keep control. But I was already 10 steps ahead. Because I hadn't come to argue. I had come to end it. When the dust settled after our confrontation, Melissa assumed I'd raged. Yelled, begged, maybe throw things or cry on the floor. But I didn't. I just stood up, picked up my phone, and left the room. Because the truth was, I had already made my move. While Melissa lived in fantasy, juggling lovers and lies, I had spent the last 2 weeks preparing a legal arsenal. My lawyer, calm, ruthless, and efficient, had helped me gather every piece of documentation into a timeline that no judge could ignore. Infidelity. Deception. Evidence of financial dishonesty, including credit card charges for hotel rooms billed to our shared accounts. I wasn't just exposing her as an unfaithful spouse. I was showing the court she was reckless. Unfit to share custody. Unworthy of the life she tried to maintain through manipulation. I filed for divorce the next day, served her the papers at work, in front of her colleagues, not out of spite, but because I wanted her to experience what I had for months, the humiliation of truth crashing through the facade. She called me screaming. Left voicemails that went from pleading to threatening to weeping. But it didn't matter anymore. I was done listening. Our kids, 17 and 22, were old enough to understand. And to my relief, they chose me. They had always sensed something was off. The late nights, the fake smiles, the constant tension. When I showed them only some of the evidence, their eyes widened, not with shock, but with quiet confirmation. We knew, my daughter said. We just didn't know how bad it was. Melissa tried to spin it, of course. Claimed I was manipulating them. Tried to guilt them into staying at the house. But it didn't work. My daughter moved in with me immediately. My son told her bluntly, "You don't get to be the victim now." The house? It went to me. Because I proved that 90% of our mortgage payments had come from my income and that she had spent thousands of our money on secret weekend trips. I even got the dog. Not because I fought for him, but because Melissa never even noticed I had taken him when I left. And for the first time in decades, I slept in peace. No more anxiety. No more pretending. No more second-guessing whether the woman beside me was who she claimed to be. I had lost a wife, yes, but I had reclaimed myself. And that, more than anything, was what mattered. It had been 8 months. 8 months since I served her those papers. 8 months since I packed my things, moved into a quieter home with my daughter, and started rebuilding my life from the ashes she left behind. I'd like to say it was easy. That the pain went away with time. But betrayal leaves a scar that doesn't fade. It just stops bleeding eventually. Still, I was healing. My mornings were calm. My nights were peaceful. I started running again. Picked up woodworking in the garage. Even joined a local book club just to feel something new. Life was slower now, but finally honest. Then, one Sunday afternoon, it happened. A knock at the door. Not frantic. Not angry. Just hesitant. I opened it, and there she was. Melissa. Standing on my porch like a ghost from another life. No makeup. Hair tied back. Holding a photo album I hadn't seen in years. The one from our first family trip to Yellowstone. Her voice cracked before she even spoke. "David, can we talk?" I said nothing. Just stepped aside and let her walk in. Because part of me, the stupid, stubborn part, still wondered what she could possibly have left to say. She sat down at the kitchen table, looked around at the home I had made without her, and exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. "I miss this," she whispered. "Not the house. Us. The life we built." I said nothing. "I made a mistake," she continued. "I thought I wanted freedom, excitement, something different. But all I found was emptiness." She opened the photo album. Pages of memories. Our wedding. The kids' birthdays. Camping trips. Snow angels in Vermont. Tears welled in her eyes. "You were always steady, kind, real." I threw that away. And I hate myself for it. And then, the words I never thought I'd hear. "I want another chance. I want us again." For a moment, I just looked at her. This woman who had once been everything. Who had shattered my trust like glass. Who had laughed when I first confronted her. And now? She sat here small, broken, full of regret, begging for a past she had willingly destroyed. I took a deep breath. "Melissa, the man you're apologizing to? He died the day you betrayed him. The man sitting here now doesn't love you anymore." Her tears fell fast. She tried to plead. She brought up the kids, the memories, the decades. But none of it mattered, because I had already mourned the end of that chapter, and I was already writing a new one, without her. After Melissa left that day, still crying, clutching the photo album like a life raft she'd lost at sea, I sat alone at the kitchen table for a long time. Not angry. Not even sad. Just still, because I realized something. I didn't hate her anymore. Not truly. Hate takes energy. It clings to wounds and keeps them bleeding. But I had stopped bleeding long ago. She had broken something that could never be repaired. Not because I wasn't willing to heal, but because she never truly valued what we had until it was already ashes. And you can't build a future on ashes. The next morning, I wrote her a letter. Not to invite her back. But to release her and myself. Melissa, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it. But because I refuse to carry your sins anymore. I carried them long enough in silence. This is where they stay. In the past, I left it in her mailbox. She never replied, and I didn't expect her to. Years passed. I kept the house. The kids grew into kind, grounded adults. My daughter told me once, I learned from you that strength doesn't always look like fist and fire. Sometimes it looks like walking away. That meant everything to me. Eventually, I met someone new. Not dramatic. Not explosive. Just easy. Honest. A woman who didn't play games. Who didn't make me feel like I had to earn basic loyalty. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt safe. Melissa. I heard she moved away. New town. New job. Still alone, last I knew. Part of me hopes she found peace. Part of me knows she's still chasing ghosts. But I don't chase anymore. I live. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge is rebuilding without the people who tried to break you.